Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. In the narrow streets of Brooklyn, a light rain was falling that evening. Emily Carter, a 23-year-old woman, walked briskly, clutching a small, ripped bag that contained her meager possessions. Her shoes were worn, and her oversized coat barely protected her from the icy wind. Despite the difficulties, she moved forward with determination, each step a silent promise of survival. Emily had grown up in a world where wealth was never hers. Motherless, her father worked day and night to pay the rent. For her, every dollar earned was a battle, and every smile a rare luxury. But tonight, her courage would be tested in an unexpected way. A few streets away, in a sumptuous residence on Park Avenue, lived Alexander Whitman, a 29-year-old billionaire, known for his technology empire but also for his inaccessible and mysterious air. He spent his evenings alone, immersed in his contracts and secrets, invisible to the world, except for those who dared to approach. By a strange twist of fate, Emily found herself face to face with him that evening, in a charity shop where she was hoping to sell a small piece of jewelry for a few dollars. The only thing she owned that had any real sentimental value was her family ring, a thin gold ring engraved with small symbols that his mother had left him. Without thinking, and with desperate confidence, she held out the ring to Alexander. "Take it, please." What Alexander discovered inside that ring would change his and Emily's lives forever. Engraved on the bottom of the ring was a message secret, handwritten by Emily's mother. "Whoever can read this heart will see the future he deserves." Alexander couldn't believe what he was reading. Was it just a coincidence, or did this ring hide a secret no one would have imagined? Destiny had knocked at their door. And what followed would defy all expectations: love, betrayal, and revelations that would shake both worlds, the world of poverty and the world of wealth. The next morning, Brooklyn awoke to a gray sky, and Emily Carter made her way through the milling crowd. The previous night already seemed surreal. She thought back to the charity shop and the strange man who had taken her ring. Alexander Whitman. Something in his gaze had troubled her, no contempt, no arrogance, just an intense, almost worried curiosity. She didn't know that a few miles away, in his gleaming penthouse, Alexander was examining the ring in the morning light. The inner engraving shone strangely before his eyes. He had seen many things in her life: secrets, fortunes, dubious contracts, but never such a personal and mysterious message. "Whoever can read this heart will see the future he deserves." Alexander reread those words several times. They were simple, yet disturbingly profound. Who had carved them? And why had fate placed Emily in his path, he a poor woman, she an invisible billionaire? Determined to find out more, he discreetly contacted the charity shop. The employee gave him Emily's address. He hesitated to go there. He'd never set foot in a modest Brooklyn apartment, but something about the ring compelled him. Meanwhile, Emily returned to her job as a waitress at a small local cafe. She never spoke of her personal life to her colleagues. The poverty, the hardships, the sacrifices, everything remained silent behind her polite smile. But she felt her life had just changed. Giving her ring to this mysterious man had left her feeling both empty and strangely confident. Around noon, while she was serving a hot coffee to a customer in a hurry, the door of the cafe opened with a soft click. Emily looked up and saw Alexander Whitman, dressed in a perfectly fitted suit, but with an expression that was anything but pretentious. He looked straight into her eyes. "Emily Carter?" he asked in a calm but firm voice. Emily stepped back slightly, surprised. How did he know her name? She'd never revealed her identity to anyone outside the shop. "Yes, it's me," she stammered. Alexander took the ring out of his pocket. "This ring? I need to know what this message means. Who gave it to you?" Emily felt her heart pound. She realized she couldn't escape this man's curiosity or the mystery she'd always carried. With a shaky breath, she sat down at an empty table and began to tell her story, a life of sacrifice, loss, and shattered dreams. Alexander listened intently, every word resonating with him in a way he'd never known. He sensed that Emily wasn't just a poor girl. There was strength, courage, and something precious within her that money couldn't buy. When she finished, a heavy silence fell over them. Alexander placed the ring on the table and said, "Emily, I believe this ring was not given to me by chance. You and I, we are connected in a way that I must understand." And so the encounter that would change their lives truly began, in Brooklyn, between two worlds that seemed to be polar opposites, but which fate had just brought together. After their first meeting at the cafe, Alexander Whitman couldn't focus on anything else. Every detail of Emily, her tired but resilient smile, the sound of her voice, and especially that mysterious ring, haunted him. He returned home, his heart racing. He placed the ring on his polished mahogany desk and examined it under every possible light. The interior engraving seemed simple at first glance, but Alexander had a feeling it concealed more than just a poetic message. He called in an expert in ancient symbols, someone capable of deciphering the tiny, cryptic engravings. Meanwhile, Emily returned home, exhausted after a long day at work. She sat down on the old couch in her apartment and stared at the ring, now devoid of her presence. Her heart sank. Had she done the right thing by giving it away? She knew that this ring was the only tangible link to her mother, who had died a few years earlier. And yet, a strange feeling told her that her gesture was not in vain. The next day, Alexander invited Emily to meet him again, this time in a more discreet public place, a quiet park in the heart of Brooklyn. Emily accepted, curious and slightly worried. "Emily," Alexander began as he saw her approach, "I have to show you something." He took out a small case and took out a magnifying glass and pictures of very ancient symbols. "Those engravings on your ring, they correspond to an ancient code that only certain heir families know. Did your mother know something you don't?" Emily shook her head in disbelief. I never knew anything. It's just a ring my mother gave me, to protect me, I guess." Alexander sensed there was more to Emily's story than that. Something seemed hidden in Emily's story, and he was determined to uncover the secret. So he came up with a bold plan. "Emily, I know this may seem strange, but I'd like you to come with me. Just for a few hours. I want us to find out what this ring really means." Emily hesitated. Her instincts told her to refuse. She didn't know this man, and yet, a part of her felt she should trust him. "Okay," she finally whispered, "but just for a few hours." And so began their journey into mystery, a journey that would take them far beyond the streets of Brooklyn, to discover a secret that neither wealth, nor poverty, nor time could erase. Alexander led Emily to an old library hidden in the heart of Manhattan, a place where family secrets and history mingled with dusty archives. The walls were lined with old books, some centuries old, and the air smelled of leather and old paper. "This place," Emily murmured in wonder, "I never imagined something like this existed in New York." Alexander smiled, but his mind was focused. He placed the ring on a massive wooden table and took out a small notebook. "Your ring," he began, "it belongs to an ancient lineage. These symbols are a code. If deciphered correctly, they reveal a hidden message." Emily shuddered. She had always believed the ring was simply a sentimental heirloom, a memento from her mother. But now she found herself at the center of a mystery beyond anything she had ever known. Alexander took out a magnifying glass and examined the engravings carefully. Each symbol seemed to correspond to a letter or number. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a small triangle engraved inside. "This corresponds to an ancient family of secret protectors. It's not just a ring, it's a key." Emily felt a mixture of excitement and fear. "A key?" she asked. "For what?" Alexander hesitated, weighing his words. "For something very old and very precious, a secret your mother wanted to protect. And I think someone else might want to find it." At that precise moment, a dull thud echoed through the library. Both jumped. Alexander gestured for Emily to come closer. A mysterious man, dressed in black, was watching from the shadows behind the bookshelves. "You shouldn't be here," the man muttered in a cold voice before quickly disappearing. Emily felt her heart pound. The mystery of the ring had just become dangerous. Alexander placed his hand on hers. Emily. I think your life has just changed forever. What your mother tried to protect, some will do anything to get back. We must be careful. Emily nodded, aware that the decision she had made the day before, to give her ring to this strange man, had embarked her on an adventure greater than she could have ever imagined. And so their quest officially began, to discover the ring's secret, protect Emily's legacy, and confront those who would do anything to obtain it. The sun was setting behind the Manhattan skyscrapers as Alexander and Emily stepped out of the library. The air was cold, but their minds burned with excitement and worry. Every step through the busy streets seemed to bring them closer to a secret buried for generations. Back in Alexander's penthouse, he placed the ring under a bright light and took out several ancient books, maps, and encrypted scrolls. Emily, though nervous, sat beside him, determined to understand what her mother had wanted to protect. Look here, said Alexander, pointing at the engraved symbols. If you combine these letters with the numbers I found in these ancient archives, it forms a message. Emily tilted her head and slowly read aloud. Seek where light meets shadow, the treasure of the past protects the future. Looking for where light meets shadow, Emily repeated, her eyes wide. What could that mean? Alexander thought for a moment. It sounds like an ancient riddle. Something tied to a specific location, perhaps a house, a historic building, or even a park. As they talked, another clue caught their attention. A small symbol engraved inside the ring resembled a miniature key. Alexander showed it to Emily. Look, this symbol isn't just decorative. It could indicate the exact location of the treasure or secret your mother was protecting. Emily felt a surge of fear and excitement. This was no longer just a game or a mystery to be solved, it was real, dangerous, and vital. Their thoughts were interrupted by an unexpected call. Alexander's phone screen showed an unknown number. He picked up. Alexander, said a deep, menacing voice, you found something that doesn't belong to you. Let it go while you still can. Emily felt a cold chill run down her spine. The threat was clear, someone else was tracking their movements, and they would stop at nothing to get their hands on the ring and the secret it contained. Alexander put down his phone and stared at Emily determinedly. Emily, we can't back down anymore. We have to find what your mother wanted to protect, before they catch up with us. And I think the first clue leads us to Central Park. Emily took a deep breath, her heart pounding. She was ready to follow Alexander on this adventure, even if it meant facing unknown dangers. And so, as night fell, their true quest began, to decipher the ring's clues, find the place where light meets shadow, and uncover a secret that could change their lives forever. The next morning, Emily and Alexander went to Central Park, under an overcast sky that gave the place a mysterious atmosphere. The winding paths, the ancient trees and the ancient statues seemed to hide secrets that few people took the time to notice. We must look where light meets shadow, Alexander murmured, watching the sun's rays filter through the branches. Emily followed his directions, her heart pounding. She looked around, trying to figure out where this first clue might be. Her eyes fell on an old marble fountain, lightly covered with moss. The morning light illuminated one of its statues, creating an eerie contrast of light and shadow. There, Emily said in a trembling voice. Look at the statue. The light is falling exactly on that symbol. Alexander knelt down and carefully examined the base of the statue. A small, almost invisible indentation seemed to correspond to the shape of the ring. Carefully, he inserted the ring and turned it slightly. Suddenly, a small secret compartment opened, revealing old yellowed parchment. Emily took the parchment with trembling hands. The letters were old and elegant, but understandable. True heritage lies not in gold or wealth, but in the knowledge and courage of those who dare to protect the past. Alexander frowned. It's a message from your mother, or from her ancestors. They wanted whoever found this ring to understand the importance of this secret. Before they could examine further, there was a sound of rapid footsteps behind them. Two men in dark coats appeared, their eyes fixed on them with menacing intensity. "Give us the ring," shouted one of them. Emily instinctively stepped back, but Alexander took her hand and whispered, "Stay calm, we can get through this." He noticed a small series of tunnels and hidden passages beneath the fountain, marked by symbols similar to those on the ring. Without hesitation, he led Emily inside as the men drew closer and closer. Their hearts beat as one as they walked into the darkness, guided only by the symbols engraved on the ring and the courage Emily didn't know she possessed. In the shadows, Alexander whispered, "Emily, we've just taken the first step. But what we find next could change our lives, forever." And so the mystery of the ring drew them deeper into a world of ancient secrets, imminent danger, and unexpected revelations. Emily and Alexander stepped deeper into the narrow tunnel beneath the fountain. The air was damp and smelled of old marble and earth, but their hearts pounded more with curiosity than fear. Each step seemed to bring them closer to a generations-old secret. "Look at these symbols on the walls," Alexander murmured, shining his flashlight on the engravings. "They matched the ones on the ring. It's as if the tunnel was built for someone who owned that ring." Emily shuddered. It all seemed unreal, like a waking dream. But she couldn't deny the reality. Her mother had left behind a riddle that placed her directly at the heart of an ancient mystery. Further on, the tunnel widened into a small circular room. In the center, on a stone pedestal, rested an old wooden box. The engraving on the box looked uncannily like the symbols on the ring. Alexander approached cautiously. "Emily, I think we found something that no one should have seen." Emily, breathless, knelt beside him. Carefully, Alexander inserted the ring into a small indentation in the box, just as it had been in the compartment on the statue. There was a soft click, and the box slowly opened, revealing several old documents, of the yellowed photographs and one gold medallion engraved with symbols identical to those on the ring. Emily took the locket in her hands, her eyes shining. It's my mother," she murmured. "She left me all this, so that I would understand something." Alexander examined the documents. Some told the story of a line of protectors, charged with keeping a secret related to a revolutionary invention and great hidden wealth. Others showed maps, codes, and notes detailing how to protect this secret from those who would use it for malicious purposes. But before they could delve any deeper, an echo echoed through the tunnel, heavy, rapid footsteps. The two men in dark coats were there, and this time, they had found their trail. Alexander grabbed Emily's hand. "Emily, we have to get out of here. Now." With the box and locket safe, they ran into the darkness of the tunnel, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind them. The tension was at its peak, but Emily felt for the first time that she was not just a poor and vulnerable young woman, she was now the heir to a secret that could change the world. And as they finally reached the exit, Alexander whispered, "What we have found is only the beginning. The real secret of your mother, and of this ring, is even greater than anything we imagined." Back in Alexander's penthouse, he and Emily carefully placed the box on a secure table. The room was silent, but the atmosphere was thick with tension. Every symbol, every document, and every locket now seemed to carry the weight of generations of secrets. "Emily," Alexander began, "I believe what your mother protected isn't just a family affair, it's something much bigger." Emily placed the locket on the table and turned it in her hands. "An invention? A hidden fortune?" she asked, breathless. Alexander nodded. "Exactly. These documents speak of an ancient technology, capable of changing the balance of power, and some people would do anything to get their hands on it." Their faces froze when a loud bang sounded at the door. Alexander instinctively jumped up and checked the security cameras. On his screen, two figures in dark coats were approaching the building. "They followed us," he whispered. "And this time, they know exactly what we found." Emily felt a cold chill. She realized that the ring and her mother's secret were far more precious than she had ever imagined, but also far more dangerous. "What are we doing?" she asked. Alexander thought for a moment, then took out a small electronic device. "We need to move the box to a safe place. I know of an old family shelter that was built for exactly this kind of situation. We'll be safe there, at least for a while." They packed the box and locked it into a discreet bag. As they left the penthouse, Emily took one last look at the city below. The streets that once seemed ordinary were now full of unseen dangers. Once in Alexander's car, they drove through Manhattan, passers-by oblivious to the drama unfolding just yards away. Alexander drove with fierce concentration, while Emily silently considered the gravity of the situation. "Emily," Alexander said after a moment, "we've taken the first step. But now we need to figure out how to use these documents and the locket to protect this secret, before it falls into the wrong hands." Emily felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but for the first time, she felt no fear of failure. She knew she had to be brave, not only for herself, but for her mother's legacy and for everything this secret represented. "I'm ready," she whispered. Alexander smiled at him with a glimmer of admiration and confidence. "Then let's go. The real journey begins now." And so, despite the fear and imminent danger, Emily and Alexander embarked on the next stage of their quest, ready to face those who would seek to steal from them the secret of the ring and the hidden treasure of the Carter family. The family retreat to which Alexander took Emily was an old house hidden away from Manhattan, surrounded by thick walls and abandoned gardens. The place seemed frozen in time, as if the outside world didn't exist. Alexander placed the box and locked it on a massive table in the main room. He took out the documents and began carefully laying them out. Emily watched, fascinated by the intricate drawings, ancient symbols, and detailed maps. "Look at this," Alexander said, pointing to a diagram etched on an old parchment. "It's a sort of diagram for the invention your mother was protecting, and it explains why some people would do anything to find it." Emily narrowed her eyes. "But what is it exactly?" she asked. Alexander sighed. "From what I can gather, it's an ancient technology that could revolutionize the world of energy. But it's been hidden, fragmented into several clues and objects, so that only the one with the ring and the medallion can find and protect it." Emily felt immense pressure. Her mother hadn't just left a sentimental item, she'd entrusted Emily with a vital mission. As they were examining the diagram, an unexpected noise startled Emily. The front door creaked. Alexander rushed to look through a small opening and saw a familiar face in the shadows. "It's not possible," Emily whispered. The man in the dark coat, whom they had seen in Central Park, was not alone this time. To her surprise, he seemed to be waiting for something specific. And suddenly, he spoke in an almost contemptuous whisper. "You shouldn't be here." Emily felt her heart pound. But what shocked her most was the recognizable voice of someone she had known for a long time, someone she trusted, or at least believed in. It's, she stammered. "Why him?" Alexander, frowning, understood immediately. There was a traitor among their loved ones, someone who knew the clues and the movements of the ring. "Emily," Alexander said in a deep voice, "we must remain calm. Your mother's secret is still intact, but we must act quickly. They now know exactly what we have." Emily nodded, aware that the mission had just become even more dangerous. Alexander then searched the box once more and discovered a new document, almost forgotten and hidden under the medallion. On the paper, a complex drawing showed a secret room in the Brooklyn Library, a clue even Emily would never have imagined. "That's where we have to go next," said Alexander. "And this time, we have to be careful, the traitor could follow us every step of the way." Emily felt a new determination rising within her. This was no longer just a quest to understand the ring or her mother's secret. It was a race against time and against enemies who knew too much about them. And so, with the new plan in mind and the palpable threat behind them, they left the shelter, ready to face the next chapter of their dangerous and mysterious adventure. Emily and Alexander arrived at the Brooklyn Historic Library, an imposing building with stained glass windows and antique bookshelves. The place was almost empty, only a few silent researchers browsing the shelves. But every step they took echoed in their minds like a warning: the traitor could be anywhere. "We need to find the section indicated by the document," Alexander murmured, consulting the old parchment. "That's where your mother left the next clue." Emily followed attentively, her heart pounding. Her hands trembled slightly as she held the locket, which seemed to vibrate slightly between her fingers, as if recognizing that they were approaching something important. They came to a secluded shelf, hidden behind rows of bulky books. Alexander examined the wall and found a small engraved symbol that matched those on the ring exactly. Carefully, he slid out a particular book, revealing a secret hatch in the ground. Emily took a deep breath. "Shall we go?" she asked, somewhere between excitement and nervousness. "Yes," replied Alexander, "but be on your guard." They descended into a small, narrow passage, barely lit by a faint light coming from the medallion that seemed to reflect the gravity of the situation. In the center of the underground room was an old metal chest locked by a complex system. The symbols engraved on the chest were identical to those on the ring. Alexander inserted the ring into the notch and the chest slowly opened, revealing a set of documents, of plans, techniques and ancient letters. Emily began to examine them and her face froze when she read one letter in particular. "The one who betrayed trust is closer than you think, don't trust anyone until you find out the truth." "Alexander," Emily whispered, horrified, "I think the traitor is someone in my family, someone I've known my whole life." Before they could react further, a noise behind them startled them. A figure stepped out of the shadows. The mentor Emily had always admired, the one she had absolute confidence in, and who turned out to be the one who had been following all their movements from the beginning. "Emily," he said with a cold smile, "I knew you'd come here. Thanks for the decryption work. Now the secret is mine." Alexander stood in front of Emily, protective. "Not so fast. You don't know what you're handling." But the traitor laughed, confident and dangerous. He knew every move, every clue, but he still didn't know one thing: Emily had the strength and courage she inherited from her mother, and she wasn't going to let the secret be stolen from her so easily. The confrontation was inevitable. The secret of the ring and the family heirloom would finally reveal its full power, and decide everyone's fate. Emily felt her heart pound. Before her, the mentor she had always trusted was revealing his true colors, the traitor. The tension in the small underground room was palpable, each second seeming to last an eternity. Why betray me?" Emily asked, her voice trembling but determined. The traitor gave a cold smile. "Because the power and wealth of this secret belong to those who know how to take them. Your mother was too naive. But you are the last piece of the puzzle. And now you will show me the way." Alexander squeezed Emily's hand, reassuring her. "No. The secret was never about wealth. It's about protecting invention, preserving what your mother built for good, not for profit." Emily felt a new strength rise within her. She remembered every lesson her mother had taught her, her courage and her wisdom. The ring and locket in her hands seemed to shine brighter, as if to remind her that she was ready. Calmly but determinedly, she activated a secret mechanism in the safe Alexander had shown her. Hidden compartments opened, revealing additional documents and evidence of her mother's true intention, to protect an invention capable of providing unlimited, clean energy to millions of people. The traitor stepped back, shocked. How?" Emily raised her head, her eyes shining with confidence and resolve. "You never understood the true purpose. It was never about power or money. And you will never be worthy of this secret." Alexander stepped in beside her. Together, they sealed the safe with a code only Emily now knew. The traitor made one last attempt to approach, but a silent alarm Alexander had activated went off. The police and security from the family shelter arrived quickly, arresting the man before he could escape. Emily, breathless but triumphant, looked at Alexander. "We did it," she whispered. "Yes," Alexander replied, a proud smile on his face. "But most importantly, you did it. Your courage and wisdom protected what your mother built." For the first time in a long time, Emily felt a deep sense of peace. The ring, the locket, and the documents were no longer just relics of the past, they were symbols of her heritage, her strength, and her ability to protect what was good. As she finally left the library, the sun rose, illuminating Brooklyn with a warm, soft light. Emily knew her life would never be the same. She was no longer just a poor young woman from Brooklyn, she was an heiress, a protector, and above all, someone capable of changing the world with the secret her mother had entrusted to her. And Alexander, at his side, understood that this adventure was not just a quest for an ancient secret, it was the beginning of a deep and indestructible bond, forged by courage, trust, and truth. The mystery of the ring was solved, but its legacy had only just begun.